Calvin, you are one of the hardest working artists I've ever met. You're extremely dedicated, and I heard your full album recently, the greatest hits album, aka
Our
also
debut greatest hits album.
it's 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 so funny and also it's so genuinely underrated. It's an incredible album, and I think people will be coming back to it. So I feel like I just want to dive in. I listened to it, I annotated, I took notes, I have questions, I also have observations that I want to share, and I just want
Sure.
to talk about it. That's it.
Well, Nory, I appreciate you listening to the album. Regardless of what streaming platform you found it on, I'm really enjoying. I'm gonna enjoy the several cents that adds up to.
Yeah, I got you.
Because I think the first thing really, as far as process, that's important to me is that I'm in this for the money, right? Like
Right.
that this it's so easy to make money as a musician, and so there's a gold rush, and so that's why we all do it, you know?
Absolutely. Okay, but that joke is actually a perfect encapsulation, I think, of your artistic style. Because something I noticed that I don't really catch as much live because it's just kind of harder to hear is and also being a rapper, um, the lyrics, and you're you're such an incredible like playwright with every
Oh,
song. You're
thank you.
creating a literal theater, an entire movie with each song, whether it's like a weird macabre love story or some incredibly sophisticated literary tools you're using to like sing about what appears to be superficial things, but below the surface is like Rage Against the Machine level political controversy and critique. And it's like I didn't realize this until I really listened to your album, how much of a political artist you are, and not to label you as that, but
No, no, no. I mean, I wear it as a badge of honor. It's kind of funny, like not that we get pigeonholed at all, but like we've been very concerted not to become, despite the fact that I think we're kind of wacky and quirky, and
right.
we have a good sense of humor with our stuff. We've been pretty concerted to like not end up in the kind of like I say this with like a lot of love and respect, like in the kind of like Bo Burnham verse of like musical comedy, because we're not comedians first, we are musicians first. And I think of stuff that is funny as just being a tool to
Mm,
relate to people more effectively. And
right.
if you're able to relate to people effectively, the best thing you can do with that is to come together about what we're all facing as a society, right? Like, I mean, there's a lot of division. And I was just talking to a fan this morning. Someone had reached out to us on Instagram and was talking about how they feel seen by the kind of political elements of some of the stuff we've been doing. And
Yeah.
that means a lot to me. I've been writing political stuff. That was like the first kind of music I ever wanted to write. I was like a Dylan protest song kid, you
Mm,
know. So and was really into punk music when I was, like my first like kind of musical like tirade was against like music from like the sort of 70s that was like sort of folk aesthetics, but like that was just like sweet love songs. And I was like, no, 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 folk is punk. Folk should be punk. It's supposed to be punk. So
wow.
we're not a folk band, but I definitely pull from that same lineage, and I'm very inspired by it. And that's where I started out, and
That
I
makes a
think
lot
it's
of sense, really.
important to be political. Yeah.
Well, I have a question about that because I'm also very political in my music, and for me, when I'm creating music, I often question, like, and I'm posing this to you, are the themes that you challenge in consequences of the state of the world and just like you being a vessel for these unusually terrible circumstances we find ourselves in? Or are you actively trying to create sort of Trojan horse messaging with like sneaking in, like even the song Peaches, for example, I genuinely think is one of the best songs I've ever heard.
Campaign peaches are better than healthcare, they're better than infrastructure.
And
Uh,
it's so on the surface, if you're not actively listening, lighthearted and silly. But below the surface, you sneak in like lines about healthcare And it's like, wow.
Failures of institutions.
And
Yeah.
the fact that you use the like peaches as like a symbol kind of like consumerism and like all this shit. Uh,
Yeah.
how intentional is it, or is it a byproduct more of you just being a vessel? What's the vibe?
I mean, I think it's intentional. It becomes intentional, right? I am sort of a subscriber to a little bit of an esoteric David Lynchian sort
Mm.
of beginning of writing. Like very often, like it's just like it has to be like I'm writing a song right now, not to tease it. We This is so far from being released because it's still not even fully written yet, called Rat King, right? And it's about a rat. It's about a guy who has like a community of rats that he keeps alive in the bowels of his office, right? And like that's not necessarily like I wasn't like, oh, this will be a great commentary on what it's going to end up being a great commentary on. It just starts with sort of the kind of dream logic like
Charlie
imagery.
Kaufman.
Yeah, just like we like the kind of what the fuck. There's like a when it you have an idea, it does feel like a little bit like waking up from a dream or something, and you just have this like kind of this something weird has just been here, right? Like oh, I just was wrapped up in this ordeal of having to buy 10 gallons of milk or whatever that's like weird things are, right? And the peaches, for example, is like a totally like I mean, it's like a sensory thing, right? I'm like I have like a deep emotional visceral sort of connection to canned syrupy peaches, right? Like just from childhood or whatever. And I think a lot of the purposefulness is just sort of doing a little bit of psychological analysis and figuring
Mhm.
out like why that is something that is in your dream, right? Like why that's something that affects you, right? So
Do you think
in
the theme? I'm sorry to cut you off. I'm just so
no, 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 no.
enraptured by
No,
this
please.
idea. The themes that end up sort of emanating from these songs, are they after product or byproducts of the completion of it? Like when Peaches is done, it's finally like a light shining through of like this sort of greater morale, or
You just find what it's supposed to be. I mean, I don't think that's the only song I could have written that's about Can't Cling Peaches, right? Like I started with the first verse, right? And I'm very like it's I appreciate your allusion to the kind of playwritingness of it because I think of it as a very similar process that you get three acts, right?
Mm.
You get a first verse, a second verse, and a bridge, right? And like the first verse is where you establish the world,
Mm.
right? And that's usually where writing the song starts, usually, right? Because that's like, okay, what's going on? The second verse is the turn, right? And the bridge is like what you're actually here to talk about, right? Like, or vice versa, like you know what I mean, like the second verse is like a further exposition and the third verse is the turn or you know the bridge is the turn, but
Right.
there's this kind of like
Art.
you're just built in, yeah, it's built into modern song structure
Right.
that there's this kind of every time you return to the chorus it should feel a little bit different, right? So Peaches is only the song that it is because the second verse went the way that it did, and that feels right to me. But I also could have seen it starting to go another direction. You know,
Mm.
I mean, I think like I finished the first verse, "Can cling peaches, the taste of them reaches into something primeval in me," right? And I just like was looking over my own lyrics and being like, what is this? Like, why is this evocative to me, right? And I'm like, it's because Cling peaches represent like a kind of sunny 20th century Americanism that is like a kind of promise of fresh food that is basically being given to you by like a giant evil corporation, and it's filled with like diabetes syrup, and it is like you've
Yeah.
taken something that is actually really good for you and made it into something that's effectively this kind of prepackaged poison candy, and like there you go, that's like the best we have to offer the American people is like government government like bunker peaches, you
Right.
know, like canned peaches or something that we would only otherwise really need to enjoy like in like an actual nuclear bunker.
Hmm.
So I don't know, but that's not like I think this describing the song should describe the song, right? So that's
Well,
the
that's
kind of
something I struggle with a lot is being able to create feelings without like describing the feelings, you know?
what do
And
you
like
yeah, what do you mean?
leaving the listener as I
Mm.
was left after Peaches with all of the sensibilities that you're trying to convey without directly conveying them. So you're painting a world in a way that's like um impressionistic enough for me to leave the song feeling my own place in it without you having to walk my hand through it. And all of the themes that you're either consciously or subconsciously injecting into this song are hitting me like a dumpster truck, no pun intended.
Or dumpster fire, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I
Um,
mean, but that is funny because I actually think of my style, right? And like what I get made fun of by my friends for is my style is very handholdy. Like I have a real philosophy of storytelling that's very
right.
much like you do not get to go to heaven for not telling people what
But
the fuck you're
my
talking
point
about,
is, you're
right?
kind of an unreliable narrator in your stories, is my point. You're holding my
Right.
hand, but you're guiding me with very much of a manipulative intent.
Yeah.
Feel you're manipulating me. You're trying to make me, and also the incredible like arrangements and the music and the harmony, all of that is forcing me into this world you're building. But
Mhm.
you're intentionally doing it while at the same time there exists this other like underground world of the song,
Yeah. Well,
which
I
is
think
where I'm really like feeling it at the end, mostly because of how you're arranging these songs with like these arcs in mind.
well,
And
yeah, I think this does very much just tie back to the playwriting background, right?
right.
Which is that basically like you just have to be a vengeful god.
Hmm.
Like you like that's what you're tasked with doing with a work of art, right?
Hmm.
Seriously. Like you're creating a universe, right? And you are actually the judge, jury, and executioner of that universe, and you are the all-loving, all-understanding, all-powerful thing of that universe. It's very like that's what you're actually doing when you create a thing. And so like yeah, once you have kind of set the scene, the facts of the case are sort of your playthings,
Right.
right? Like it's just like there is an unreliability because it's like, oh, by the way, there's this other part of the universe where this
Right.
is happening,
And it's
right?
you find the best, most subtle ways to hint at these things. And obviously
Right.
sometimes they're not like subtle and you're very much saying what it is.
Well, I think that being explicit is actually the best way
Yeah.
to connect to nuance
Right.
because you're being very specific, right? Like saying canned cling peaches, right, is just literally like an image of a very specific thing.
Right.
There's nothing in that statement or in any of the rest of it that necessarily says anything about like being in a bunker,
Right.
right? But it's just you just know what is you just you the image tells the whole story.
Yeah.
Right. The image, it's like literally it does it for you, right? You
That's
just
what
have to
great art does. Like it's
like try.
Warholian, it's fucking everything. It's like, and
I think,
I'm in awe oftentimes listening to your music with the fact that there exists this deep understanding of symbolism, but also like accompanied by genuinely fantastic arrangement, music playing, etc. That's a rare
well,
combination.
I mean, obviously, I write the songs and have I'm a composer and producer and do my stuff, but I could never take full credit for the like arrangements because Varun and Dan and Jordan and our past band members have been like such important, like, I mean, they're just virtuosic,
Right.
like they all are incredible arrangers and incredible incredible musicians. And we were even talking about this last night that just like obviously Thesaurus Rex, because we're called Thesaurus Rex, is like a lyric project, right?
Right.
Like that's part of the thing. I model myself after people like the Mountain Goats, right? Who are like, real, like John Darnielle is like a serious storyteller and
Right.
a symbolist. But uh, I think that like what's on display when we play a live show and what's on display in the recordings is like just like really like thoughtful arrangement. Like, I mean, it's just like we're like, we're kind of music nerds, right? So
Yeah.
it's like the music is the kind of like dorking out part, and the meat of it is the lyrics, as opposed to sometimes I feel like it's the other way, right?
And
Where people
sometimes,
are like,
yes.
it's vibe first, right? And
Right.
then it's like, yeah, the lyrics need to exist, right?
Right. Especially in this world of music you live in, I feel like it's rarely lyrics driving the wheel, you know?
Mhm.
Um and obviously
Yeah.
that kind of goes for a lot of genres too. But this is a good segue into more specific stuff that I want to dive into. So where did you record this shit and who played the double bass on which song was it?
The
Gallery.
gallery.
Yeah,
Yeah.
bro.
Well, double bass is played by our bassist at the time, Eden Marsh,
I figured.
who's an absolute total god.
Yeah.
Yeah, Eden plays with this band called Jordy Greep as a guitarist because bass is only one of their like god tier
Yeah.
instruments that they play. They're just like a freak. They're like insanely talented and
Yeah.
like probably arguably one of the best musicians like on the Eastern Seaboard or like some
This side of
insane.
the Mississippi.
Yeah, I mean, seriously, like, I
Yeah.
mean, it's kind of insane. So, but Eden was like a big part of the bass sound for the whole first album. We recorded this largely. Our thing we would always say is that we're like kind of flush with resources because Dan, our drummer and like primary producer mixer, and Varun, our guitarist and also major producer, and I all work in music industry and work at studios. Dan's an engineer, Varun is an engineer.
Yeah.
And I write jingles. So right now I'm calling you from my new office, which is in my house.
Big.
But my old office was like in Gramercy, and we just have access to like some studio space. And so we would jump around. I think the real thing about having access to studio space just by like sneaking in after hours and stuff is that you realize how much you can actually just accomplish in your room though. Like
100%.
it is like, I mean, obviously, like, I think the drums
Yeah.
and, just having good speakers to listen in, like, help the mix so much. And also having like, Dan's a great mixer. Like, he
Mhm.
just did a great job with it. So, I mean, it is a lot comes from just like, I've become lucky enough to have some super smart and talented people in my band, but like we you end up finding you could find a way to make something like greatest hits with half the studio space and half the resources. You just have to, you know, put your ass into it,
Yeah.
which we definitely tried to.
Did
Once
you
we named the album Greatest Hits, we were like, this is actually, we do have to make this the greatest stuff thing we ever did. So
Well, it's hard to not live up to that name. Somehow you
yeah,
did. Um, Speaking of it being the greatest hits, I mean, these songs really felt like, and I'm sure this is true given the fact that I know you now for some years, but like they felt like you guys have been playing these live on stages for like years. Uh,
that's very true about this album and very not true about the album we're working on right now. And there's like been some learning with that in not a
mm,
bad way. Just like it's kind of, yeah, it's different.
right.
Fad,
Pop spank, new obsession, Twitter, glitter, effervescence.
which is on the first album, is like a song that like we played. It sounds so different than when I originally wrote it because it just took on the the live Thesaurus Rex show experience, and
Hmm.
that we were like, okay, wait, that's really fun. How do we capture that?
Fad
Right?
specifically, I recall almost every time I've seen you play it, hearing new hits,
Yeah.
new fucking just like sprinkles and glitter on the arrangement and like all these unison lines and stuff that continually kept getting added and added throughout the different shows I'd see you guys play.
I think fad became my like kind of place to channel Varun and Eden's like kind of insatiable artistic jazz energy.
Right.
I was like, because really like it's so funny. We talk about this all the time that like that song was like a challenge for me to write. I was like, I'm gonna write a song that's like literally one or two chords because I love writing songs. Like, The Way You Look has got is 2-5-1s all over the place. It's
Right.
like tons and tons of stuff, right? But like Fat, I was like, it's gonna be an E, and that's it. And it, for the most part, is two chords until you get to this middle section, which is like
An explosion.
every single chord in like every key, like it's just, I mean it's all in F sharp or whatever, but it is like just like from a melodic perspective and from a chordal and a rhythmic perspective, it is like we're just they're doing backflips and stuff. So
Yeah.
it became I was able to channel that into fad so that it didn't have to end up spewing out into every other every other song necessarily. But
Yeah.
fad is we originally that middle section we used to play Deantown by Wolfpack on stage. That was just like our like weird little like if you know you know
Mm.
cover where we'd play an excerpt of a different song and then go back into fad jazz
Sound
full length.
comes from Weather Report too, right? Am I
Yeah,
tripping?
Deantown. Yeah.
Yeah, right, right, right. Yeah, I
Yeah.
feel like I subconsciously felt that probably at using
Dan,
those.
Dan and Varun and Eden are all huge, huge Weather Report fans.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, definitely.
I mean, and all of the like, there's like a kind of canon of I don't even know this stuff that much. Like I'm a folk guy, right? I'm a folk and a punk guy. Like there's a whole canon of like kind of like, we do this Spain thing or, like there's a whole canon of like weird music school kind of jazz stuff that gets thrown into the live show that we tried to at least wink at with the album. So
And you went to Berkeley?
I went to Berkeley for master's school with Varun. That's where we met. And that's Dan worked at the power station where that was. That we went to master's school in New York City.
Right, right, the power station.
Yeah. And then Jordan, who's our bassist now, is an actual undergrad at
Right.
Berkeley. He's the only, we'd say, real Berkeley grad because he went for 4 years. But then,
Right.
of course, Varun is the only real Berkeley grad because he went to UC Berkeley for undergrad, which is
The
which is
actual Berkeley.
arguably the real Berkeley. Yeah,
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 for smart people.
yeah. Well, we call his Berkeley Smart Berkeley and our Berkeley Dumb Berkeley.
Yeah, exactly.
So we went to Dumb Berkeley, and we all graduated unlike everybody else who was successful who came out of
Power
Berkeley.
station is like the extra dumb Berkeley.
Yeah, well, Power Station is just like the dumbest of the dumb. That's why
Yeah.
I got it.
I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
No, 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 but it is. I mean, it was a very new program. It was cool. I mean, it's definitely like it's the most important thing I ever did because I met Varun and Dan,
Right.
right? And if there's one thing I like learned in grad school that I feel like I didn't learn in undergrad, it was like, this is an opportunity for you to meet people who you'd like to, like get married to
Right.
musically. So,
Definitely.
Dan and Varun and I are all married.
Well, I also relate to that. I met a lot of my like army of musicians I work with
Yeah.
from the new school, and then like connections from people who introduced me to them from the new school.
Yeah. I mean,
Um,
well, this is Nory. This is our crossover because we're both new school alum.
right.
Nory is in the generation after me because he's nothing but a spring chicken,
It's true.
and I a withered old man winter.
Right.
But yeah, I loved the new school in a lot of ways, but I just was there for drama and playwriting, which I'm really grateful for, and it's clearly like made its way into my
1,000,000%.
still, but it's a different, like I feel like at some point, like I I didn't know as many people there who were like trying to do the same kind of thing as me because
Yeah,
they were like proper theater artists, right? And I was like, I love theater, but I've just found my heart has found this place and like kind of whatever we do, music, performance art, weird stuff, you know.
right.
So, but you know, there's some solid homies who have become part of the Thesaurus Rex universe as a result of New School.
Definitely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, well,
The New School, for those of you who don't know, is actually a college. It's not just a fake thing. I know
yeah,
it sounds like a fake thing, but it's been around for like 100 years,
it's
so it's
really
not
not
even that
new.
new.
No, it's
It's
not.
not that new. I graduated
Oh,
with the 100th class. It just
wow.
sounds fake if you look at it in a resume, which is why I was unemployed for so many years.
Same.
Yeah,
Same.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I do. I want to just ask one more thing about this new project you're working on because obviously, like you said, this old album was tried and true, and you've played these epic songs on stages for probably years, you know? So like
Yeah.
what are the pluses and minuses, the pros and cons of like approaching a record with entirely new material for you?
Um, I mean, you know, right now in our career, we're all like working our day jobs is, you know, a bunch. And so, like, when we have gotten a chance, like with this most recent album, we took like the week between Christmas and New Year's basically, and just like took it as that's our vacation. We're going into the studio and we're just like going to come out and have a bunch of stuff to show for it. That I it really lets you get in touch with like a kind of intense artistic process of just like yes, and tonight I'm going to go home and I'm going to write more stuff and I'm going to come back tomorrow and there's going to be more new stuff that we're working out, and it's like it's just true, it's really deeply creative, whereas I feel like a lot of times with stuff you've been working on for 3 or 4 years, it's just like, yeah, we'll play it again and then we'll kind of find stuff out like over the course of several weeks or this show or whatever. Like it's a long development process.
Hmm.
So I think just the short and intense development process made for it to be a much more exciting thing as a total package. I without getting into too much of it, basically the new album is a concept album. It, we're almost certainly going to be calling it the Immaculate Concept. It is the joke of it being that it is the Immaculate Concept because we didn't intend for it to be a concept album, but you know, we all sort of wrote songs that do actually accidentally connect to the same sort of topic or emotions or
That tends
themes.
to happen when you're doing it within a time frame.
And that is just it like was totally not intentional, right? It was just like, oh yeah, well,
Wow.
because this is also the first album where Dan and Varun brought stuff in, right?
Cool.
Like I wrote all the songs. I'm the primary songwriter on all the songs on
Right.
Greatest Hits, and Immaculate Concept has got a couple of songs, like you know, two or three from Varun and one or two from Dan that
Varun's
are like
bringing you lyrics and stuff?
well, he's bringing lyrics and chords and everything. I mean, we were talking about this last night. Like, I mean, I'm definitely still writing lyrics on these songs,
Yeah.
right? So, because I think of Thesaurus Rex as being like you know, sort of artistic directing the lyric portion of the band because it's just a lyric band, right? But I mean, for Dan, it comes in with like fully produced tracks sometimes that we're just like, that's total banger. We got to figure out a way to make
How
that a
cool.
thing. And then we write it together and with not, it's not like, oh, we should write it about this. It's just like we're kind of like doing the thing where we're psychoanalyzing the Rorschach test of Dan's like sort of like experimental or like you know sort of like nondescript like kind of stream of consciousness lyrics, and we're like, wait, what's the kind of story at the root of this, right? And then extrapolating that out and being like, okay, this feels like what it's about. And I don't know, I think it's just made for like I'm very excited about the upcoming album. I think it's made for a really honest piece of artwork
Wow.
that's pretty political and it's connected to work and the idea of like kind of meaninglessness in work and trying to find meaning in
Well,
a
your new
world where
single has
yeah.
really tackles that you know,
Yeah.
aggressively. And by the
Yeah.
way, congrats on just the success of that. I'm
Thank you.
thrilled that music is that kind of music is finding its way on this algorithm, you know.
I cannot tell you how happy I am that it's doing well. I
Yeah.
mean, like obviously anything we do, if it does well, I'm happy. But this one specifically, it's just about something that I would love to talk about and
Right.
have it be part of the discourse. And that's reason enough to write something that's interesting and political, is because when it's out, you've got something that you can just be proud of because you're actually doing the art thing where you're expressing something and people are receiving it as you intended to express it, and it's a communication art. It's an art, like the art of communication. It's very
I
like
have to ask you about that.
satisfying.
Like, I like you, I'm always creating content for our music, and I'm sure you hate the word content, maybe, or like it like triggers a nerve reaction
I'm
inside your
slinging
body.
tent over here, everybody. I'm slinging tent left and right.
Do you I've sensed from your content and from your visual presentations of your music that you find a genuine, authentic voice in the medium, and like it doesn't seem like as burdensome as a lot of people complain it to about it to be. Like it seems like you
I
you
I
genuinely
That's
create
a
something
really
meaningful.
learned skill, I would say, for me. I was so resistant to social media for so long.
Yeah.
I still feel resistant to it in a lot of ways. I mean, this is like a bigger philosophical thing, but like
Mm.
it is just like we are not we as artists are not built for short form.
Yeah.
We are built to we are built to make universes.
Right.
And the more you can make your short form like a universe building, the better, right? I can totally empathize with artists like making short form content where they feel like it's just like I just have to make another one of these fucking things, right? And it's the playing the lottery, it's doing the scratcher of just like, yep, here's me singing to camera, and sometimes it's so random. There's nobody I've ever talked to who I feel securely like I understand why this works and why it doesn't work. Sometimes it works. Sometimes it should work and it doesn't.
Yeah.
Sometimes it should work and it does.
Yeah.
It is we are we are like interpreting shadows on a wall. Like we really just do not understand it.
Right.
And I mean, we understand things about it, right? And you can try to make something that's good quality and hopefully it does better. But we've made stuff that I think is great that doesn't do great. And we've made
Yeah.
stuff that I think is bad that does awesome. And I don't know how it works, but I do think that the salvation from that is trying to make something that you think is fun for you to make and entertaining to you. I would say Thesaurus Rex is a psyop. That's the main takeaway from that answer.
Well, I mean, I'm every time I see a video of yours perform well, I'm grateful that the algorithm gods have
You know, likewise, Nori.
thank you, bro.
Seriously. I mean,
'Cause
you never know, man. You can't. Every day we post, and every day we see. I mean,
right.
it is kind of appalling how insanely 0 to 100 it goes,
Yeah.
right? Where you're just like, oh, okay, that posted really well, and now we've got 10 times more pre-saves than we've ever gotten, right? And you're
Right.
like, holy crap, that's insane. That was from a 10-second video.
And you being somebody, in a way like myself that physically exhausts themselves in the real world performing. I mean, that shit is tiring, and your shows are gruesomely laborious from just like an audience perspective. You're playing, you're singing your ass off, you're running around, you're doing and handling so much, the showmanship, etc. I really resonate with that, obviously, as someone who does it as well. And it's like the fact
Keep
that
live music live, baby. Keep
but
live
truly,
music
the
live.
fact that you're able to find success in both dimensions of our industry today is really inspiring, and that's why I am approving and grateful for whenever you strike gold online, because it's like you're not putting your eggs in the algorithm basket. You're really out here like sweating on stages almost multiple times a week, and it's like
Yeah.
it's like fucked how how much more success we can get from a single post, but the
In
the
the
lives you've
secret
touched.
is to make it all one thing, which
Right,
is it's perform the art of performance art, whatever you want to
right,
call it, right? If you can make the content more like performing, you're golden because then you've got a road to performing. We've been talking with people so much recently about like it's great. I'm glad the streaming's doing well. The pillar of Thesaurus Rex is we are
yeah,
alive in person. We're stage band. And
one
and
hundred percent.
people want to go like we are really lucky to live in a time where people acknowledge the importance of that again, you know?
Right.
Come on. Like
Well, in
we
part
want to go out
because
in
of
this place.
bands
Yeah.
like yours, that's
Because
making.
us and COVID-19.
Yeah, true. Calvin, I love you. Keep doing what you're doing.
Nori, you're a god amongst men.
Go listen to Calvin's new music. The Source Rex is the best band ever. Fuck the Beatles. Go
Yeah,
listen to
fuck.
Source Rex.
Honestly, let's end on that. Fuck the.
Fuck the Beatles.
No, Paul, I love you. Please,
No,
please, please
I
love
love the
me.
Beatles, man. I have a